All right. Well, welcome to the second episode of I May Be Wrong, but I Doubt It. My name is Eddie Law from the ULI, the Undisclosed Location Invasion podcast. We usually go on Fridays, but I have started this new thing. It's a Wednesday night live broadcast. It's mostly to, kind of prepare for possible or likely live podcasting that we'll be doing for the ULI. But this is just my thoughts, 20 to 30 minutes, usually about 20. I don't think any of you could take 30 minutes of me. That'd be, I don't wish that on anybody. How about that? But, oh wow, okay, hold up. Yeah. So, broadcasting live from Ollie Boy Production Studios, which is just a room here in my house. Anyway, so today's episode, I just want to talk about a couple things. One of them was something that I just heard about not too long ago. It's called the knockout game. It's pretty crazy. Here's what happened. The whole point of the game, and they're playing mostly on the East Coast, between Midwest and the East Coast, right? A lot of the cases they've been talking about have been happening in like New Jersey, been a couple in Chicago, some in Michigan, places like that. The knockout game is where you go up to an unsuspecting person and you hit them and you try to knock them out. That's the whole point of the game. And they call it a game, but they've already had one death because of it. I think a 28-year-old guy got just hit real hard just from, he just got blindsided, knocked out, and didn't make it. So, but there's videos everywhere of this stuff. And I'll make sure that when we talk about it on the ULI, because we will talk about it on the ULI, that we that I post some links on it, because the videos are insane. There's one of them is in London. Yeah, I made it all the way to London. One of them's in London. This dude comes up behind a lady, and the lady does not see him coming at all. He just comes up all quick and just fucking wide, just punch right to, from behind, but right into her temple, her right side. It knocks her out. She just goes face first into the ground. It's pretty jacked up, but they're calling it a game, and so they started. Some news places, networks, local news started interviewing people, trying to figure out why kids are playing this. And it turns out their reason is because they're bored. They literally say because we're bored. They do. It's a literal game to them, and it's pretty. I don't know. It's pretty sad. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It really is. It doesn't make any sense as to why that's a game. I mean, I train MMA, so I am used to getting hit. I know what it's like to be, rocked. I know what it's like to knock somebody out. But to play a game with an unsuspecting person as they're walking down the street is it's pretty whack. So definitely YouTube that shit. You will find videos. Just put in the knockout game, and you'll find stories. You'll find videos of people playing it. It's some pretty psycho shit for real. And a couple other things I want to talk about. I got to talking about about books with Miss Snaps. We were talking about certain books that that I recommend to her and stuff like that. And there's two in particular that I want to talk about today. Both are by Steven Pressfield. This guy, he's I wish I could describe him, but he's a real cool dude. He writes two books in particular. One of them is called Turning Pro. Well, let me back up a little bit. The first book that I read from him was called War of Art. And it talks about something called resistance. Now, normally when you hear resistance, you talk about outside forces coming at you to stop you from doing something, or even resistance training and working out, stuff like that. But no, what he means by resistance is the when something happens, or an inner what do they call it? An inner. Damn it, live broadcasting is not the place to be like all the time. No, but it's like an insecurity almost, right? It's an insecurity to, that stops you, right? So if you have a fear or something of being criticized, I clearly don't. I'm on live camera right now. I'm saying a lot. So it's honestly something I learned from that book. Is that there's a resistance that comes from many things, and it's mostly insecurity. And so it discusses a lot of stuff. And the book is technically for creative people. That got crazy real quick. That's how we do live, baby. Anyway, the book is technically for creative people, but it's not. But it can be used for life, as I see it. A lot of resistance stuff, you know. I mean, you can go from, you know, from just talking to people. Sometimes, I mean, when I was a kid, I was almost sometimes afraid of talking to the lady at Burger King to ask her for ketchup, and I was like, you know, 8, 9 years old. But at the same time, that's how it worked. The other thing was that the resistance also can come by like a personal level, right? A lot of people are afraid to, for example, the usual shit, you know, in high school where they talk about, you know, asking someone to prom or whatever. You could always have the resistance of being afraid of being rejected, right? And that's a resistance type of deal. Laziness is a resistance. If you're too damn lazy to get your shit done, get your work done, get going on something, start working out, you know, take a jiu-jitsu class or something, start a book, start a podcast. There's a lot of resistances, and so that book is talks a lot. It's basically a book about resistance, and like I said, it's technically about, you know, aimed at creative people who want to do creative things. Excuse me, artists, you know, write a book, do music. Do music, write a book, stuff like that. Write a blog. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. You know, and you could always base, or, you know, use it for your everyday life, for everything, like I do. The other book that he writes is called Turning Pro. Now, Turning Pro is just like it sounds. It's Turning Pro. It's literally a step-by-step guide on how to get your life started. Now, I don't want to describe that one too much because getting into detail on that will totally spoil it for some people. It's just a really good book. I'm on my third go with it because yeah, I just like it that much. Now, that one, Turning Pro, is not available on audiobook yet. War of Art definitely is. And because of my job, because I'm outside all the time, I usually have, you know, earphones in. You know, I will play War of Art all the time. Let's see, another book that I wanted. What was the other book that I wanted? We were talking about. Food of the Gods by Terence McKenna. It's a book about psychedelics and how psychedelics have helped helped us evolve and develop as people. There's I forgot exactly how many years. It's like, I want to say it's like 20,000 years or something like that. Something with a 2, but it's like over 1,000 years. And it's just a time period in which the brain like doubled in size, and no one really knows why it happened. But McKenna's theory is that monkeys came down from trees, and this is if you believe in evolution, all that stuff. I know some people don't. I personally, I believe in evolution, and at the same time, you know, other stuff. But McKenna's theory is that monkeys came down from the trees and they ate mushrooms, and mushrooms were growing on the bottom of, you know, of shit, so actual poop. So mushrooms would grow. So monkeys came down, started messing with food sources, and started eating the mushrooms, and that's what doubled the size of the brain. Thus evolution, Darwinism, whatever you want to take it from there. So yeah, so I also recommend that book. If you're into other stuff, I think I also talked about Killing Pablo, which is a book about Pablo Escobar. It's by Mark Bowden, the same guy that wrote Black Hawk Down. Great author, but he's almost more of a journalist because both of those stories are true. Black Hawk Down actually happened, and Killing Pablo, the whole story, actually happened. So definitely check those out. Let's see what else I want to talk about. Road to 185. Episode 3 still in the works. I have a lot of footage to go through. Just haven't had a lot of time to put it together because of work and other stuff. I had my nephew with me today for about 5 hours, and he's been sick. So, you know, having to, you know, deal with that. And still, he's a cool kid. I wouldn't do it. Honestly, if you give me a choice between doing anything else and hanging out with my nephew, I'd hang with my nephew any day. That kid's just awesome. But yeah, that's all I got today. Make sure you check out the next Road to 185. I'm aiming for to have it out by tomorrow night. If not, definitely before the ULI 17. The ULI 17 will be this Friday night. It's the way we're planning it now. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be real good. Lots of good stories. Lots of weird shit that's happened. If you, I can give you guys a couple previews. In Hawaii, one of the lawmaker in Hawaii he's waged a war against the homeless. How he's done it? He literally goes out in the streets with a sledgehammer and beats. You know how a lot of homeless people, we pushing the little bit of belongings that they have on a cart. He literally smashes them to pieces, the carts themselves, to render them useless. He'll bust out the front of the wheels. It's insanity. It's crazy. Another thing we're going to talk about is an article just came out on excuse me, I'm a little sick. An article just came out on Bleacher Report not too long ago called "The Inside Story of How the NFL's Plan for Its First Openly Gay Player Fell Apart." And honestly, a lot of this stuff we're going to have to link you guys up so you can read it. But this article is incredible. They had multiple NFL players ready to come out, and for some reason they didn't. Now, honestly, obviously I don't want to give it away yet, but tune into the ULI. You will definitely hear about that. Another thing, I am fascinated by how the law enforcement uses its power. So I always talk about and read about how police abuse their power, all that stuff. There's one in particular. Now this is not an abuse of power, okay? But it's a fascinating story of have you guys ever heard of the Silk Road? Anybody that ever went on Reddit knows about this for sure. But the Silk Road was an internet, kind of like an underground drug black market, right? $billion market. And it was run by one guy out of a library, and places that would give free Wi-Fi. This guy ran a $1 billion empire out of it. It's incredible. But they just arrested him. It turns out he's a 29-year-old dude worth billions of dollars in bitcoins. I'll also explain what a bitcoin is. That in itself can be very complicated. And so the FBI arrested this guy. It's I don't know. It's another incredible story. A lot of good stuff for this ULI. So make sure you don't miss it. Tune in on Friday night. Road to 185, obviously coming out by the end of this week. What else are we working on? I don't know. Yeah, me and H will be there on Friday night. H is coming out with a very short podcast of his own. Hopefully we'll have that out by next week. And other projects that we're gonna have coming up. We have a lot of big plans. So it's about to get really exciting. It's about to be a lot of work, a lot of man hours. But I love to do it. H loves to do it. So we're gonna get it done. So make sure you guys tune in. Come back next Wednesday night for a much better show, I promise. This is kind of thrown together at the last second today. So for sure, next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Arizona time. Make sure you tune in. It'll be a much better show, I promise. And yeah, check you guys out later. Good night, world. Peace.